Alrighty then. Okay, so the valves are now fully adjusted, and a couple guys said that I had it 180 degrees out, which it did not. It was definitely top dead center, cylinder number 1 when I started, and then you just go down the line. Yeah, so that went pretty smoothly, and now I've got my new gasket on the valve cover, and I've easily found all my parts. I was a little worried just sitting there that cups get moved with little bolts and washers on them and things like that just disappear. But to bolt on the intake and exhaust manifolds, I actually went and bought brand new bolts. I wanted the hard grade 8 bolt versus the grade 5. I just hate seeing an engine with bright, shiny white zinc heads on the new bolts with older manifolds. And so I figured, you know what, I'm going to try and get the black ones. And, they do make a black, I guess they call them black steel, but they're just basically blued bolts and washers and stuff. So I decided I would go look for those at Fastenal. And, of course, the guys down at Fastenal, they told me, well, we're going out of business in this location. We're going to another location, so you can call me when you need something. Well, that's fine and everything, but I'm not going to call them. I'll just find another outlet for those bolts and stuff. Tractor Supply actually has a pretty decent selection of standard and fine threaded bolts, even metric too. So, they're probably all made in the same place, just sold to different outlets. But I had Teresa help me out here with this exhaust manifold. Now, this exhaust manifold, I'm going to put it on there. It's the original exhaust manifold, but it's quite thin and light. When I put it on, I thought, oh my God, this thing's got to be paper thin, and I'm afraid that it's going to just burn through when I start it up, and run it hard. It's just going to burn through. So, anyways, with that being said, I remember that my mother's father, my grandfather on the other side, he had a 4020. And that 4020, they put an M&W turbocharger on it right like 3 months after he had purchased the tractor back in, I don't know, sometime in the mid-60s. We had a 4010, and he had that 4020, and he wanted more power, so he had the dealership put the M&W turbo kit on. And in the recesses of my mind, I had remembered that exhaust manifold was up in the one building. So I went and I saw my uncle, and I asked him if I could have that manifold. Of course, I went up and looked to see if it was there first. But so I went up and I looked, and of course the manifold was there. So a couple days later, I went over and I saw my uncle, and I asked him if I could have that or purchase the manifold. He said, no, just take it. It's not doing anybody any good up there. So I went up yesterday. Yesterday, and I picked up that manifold. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this engine with this manifold on it. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this exhaust manifold off and put the manifold that I got that was my other grandfather's tractor. So there's going to be a piece of both grandfathers in this tractor. My mother's father's manifold off of his 4020, which is the same manifold, and of course the 4010 that was purchased by my grandfather when my dad was 15 years old. And just kind of nice to have that inter-family connection. But anyways, enjoy the rest. That one loosened up. Did you see that? The funny thing about tightening bolts like this. The amazing thing about these engines is the first ones were hand built.
For real?
Yeah, well, how do you think? That's how they make these things, These things are cast, and then they build them like this. And, well, like this manifold here, this is the original. This is a poured manifold, see? This is where they poured it in. And the later ones, of course, they were poured also, but they were poured square. And then you could get into them from either side, the 4010s, 4020s, I mean. But I think it looks damn nice.
Oh, I would say the exhaust. These would be the exhaust molds, and these were They were poured in.
Well, they're just tits. They cut them off. This was where they made the mold. This is where they poured the iron. The iron was poured in here. And then how they do it, so I don't even know how they do it, to be honest with you. I couldn't even begin to tell you because it's hollow. You know?
Well, it was basically in wet sand. Or
Yeah, but how do you make a hollow mold? Unless it's spinning. It has to be spinning. Centrifuge. So they pour that in there.
Yeah.
They pour that in there hot, and it's spinning, and it all goes outside. Yeah. Okay, now for the other side. Now we do have a couple of issues here. My battery dead?
It's blinking now.
Yeah, so
Give me your battery.
I'll give you one. Okay.
What is that?
This is a really cool thing. That's what this is. I'll tell you in a second, as soon as I give you a new battery. And I start to clean it up because... Alright, I'll tell you what, you shut it off.
All right, Romeo, what do you got?
Romeo. What I got? Okay, so this gizmo here, this thing's driven off of the oil pump, camshaft, oil pump, whatever you want to call it, camshaft. And what this thing does is, this is your tachometer.
Who?
Tachometer.
What the hell is a tachometer?
You know your engine RPM?
Oh, okay.
What are you, drunk? Get your fingers off of that.
How do you know I was drunk?
You're drunk. I can see, I'm not blind.
It's my slanted eyes.
That's your slanted eyes?
Yep.
Slanted ass.
I get that too when I park. They always tease me at the V. Why do you park like that, Teresa? Oh, I got slanted eyes, that's why I park crooked like that.
For heaven's sakes.
Until I watched your eagle, big go. Them damn birds could fly.
Alright, so there's a rather dramatic change in the appearance of the engine, obviously. I decided to do some upgrades and some, well, I say upgrades. The water pump here, this is an original water pump, and I wasn't sure whether it was leaking or not until I spun it. I don't know if you could hear that, but I had assembled it without really paying too close of attention to it. And I just don't like the sound of dry bearings on a water pump. So I decided I would get a rebuild kit for it. And the rebuild kit, Christ, I think it was like $70 for the rebuild kit. And I still had to use the old plate, the old backing plate there. It's all, well, you can't see it so bad now. I got copper gasket sealer on it. But I decided that I would buy a new one. Now this is an aftermarket one, and water pumps are just fine if they're aftermarket. It was $115, brand new, soup to nuts, probably made in China, but it doesn't say that it was, but I'm pretty sure it's probably made in China. Anyway, it's got everything new on it. And I figured that if that's the case, it does fit just fine, and oh, that's kind of strange. Why does that thing act as though it's just got some crud in it, that's all. I'm like, oh no. Yeah. It seemed as though it was a little bit awkward, but yeah, there's some crud on the inside. You know, you gotta clean every single thing. You got mud daub, from mud daubers to just natural dirt that builds up in these things. I'm almost ready to put this machine together. Put the engine in there. Yeah, that's better. Alright, so this pulley here, I was thinking of replacing it, but I don't know, it seems okay. I've seen worse, let's put it that way. The other thing that I'm going to replace, and I ordered it this morning, I'll show you here, dampener pulley. You're supposed to replace these dampener pulleys every 5,000 hours. Well, I don't believe that this dampener pulley was ever replaced. This is the pulley that runs off, you know, the dampener takes the harmonic out of the crankshaft. If you don't have this thing correct,
it will actually break the crankshaft, and we don't want that. It'll wear bearings out, break the crankshaft, just cause a whole bunch of trouble. So I bought this today from John Deere. I'm pretty sure you can probably have it rebuilt if you needed to. I don't know if there's a rebuild charge on it. I just ordered it. I told him if it was crazy expensive, call me. He never called me, so I'm assuming we're good to go. But this does not look like anything they produced today. This is old looking. Obviously it's balanced and everything, but the rubber in this one, if you can see it, is squished out. And so, or broke off, or is just done. It doesn't look like there's any rubber here. So if there's no rubber here, then that's it. It's done. So I bought a new one. Hopefully it comes tomorrow. Alright, so with this pump is set up to run something else also. But they come with these little freeze-out plugs, freeze-out plugs. So what I did was I actually sealed it up with Teflon dope, and then I put a freeze-out plug in the top of it because this is not necessary for what I'm doing. It's not necessary for the tractor to run. But for the most part, the next thing that I have to do is, and I will bring you along for that ride, is put this injector pump on. It's a Rusa Master Steindyne company. Yeah, so this one was overhauled, obviously. They wire brushed it off, made it look really nice and sweet and everything. Put their fancy pants sealing dope on there, and what they did not do was give me the bolts to go with this. And it kind of pissed me off because if I'd have knew that, I would have took the bolts out of the core that I sent back in. And I'll show you this here in a second as to time this thing. Alright, and I can do that right now because I'm amazing. Yeah, I'm amazing, right? Anyway, I wouldn't say that too loudly. I'd be told I'm not amazing, which is fine by me. Okay, so, alright, so in order to time this injector pump, it's kind of funny, but there it is. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it in close. Hopefully you can see this. I don't know, can you see it? Alright, you can see that. See that line that's moving back and forth there as I'm turning it? Okay, so there's a line at the top, and it has to be lined up. And it's 15 degrees off from that point. Hopefully I've got it correct. And what you do is you get this line here lined up, and then you get your tractor to top dead center. That's lined up, and then you slide. I got a O-ring that goes on here. Then you slide it all together, and you're sealed, and everything should be good. So right now, and then I'll have to replace that screw. But right now, this is ready to go back together. Okay. And let me go ahead and do that real quick. Wow, that's your throttle, that's your on and off. So hold on a second. It's so simple to do this, and probably wouldn't hurt to have some assembly lube on there, but I don't know. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. So I'm pretty close to top dead center here, and I have my beautiful O-ring here. Alright, and that's it. That's all, folks. Now what I'll do is, before I go ahead and finish assembling it, is if there is anything in there, which I don't think there is, there might be a little bit of shit in there, I don't know. Thank God for filters, you know. Alright. Okay. Alright, so now that that's done, I'm pretty sure I'm out of the other stuff. I'll go ahead and cut that off of there. that. Not that it's going to make much of a difference. Glycerin in there. Now this is just a lubrication. It has nothing to do with sealant. It is not a sealant. It is a lubrication, which is good for me. Makes me feel better. Doesn't have to make you feel better, but here we go. So, I am right where I need to be. And because I did this correctly, not quite the top dead center. I thought it should, yeah, it should be a little bit farther that way, no? There. I'm actually timed correctly. Can you believe that? Amazing. Okay. Alrighty then. So that's how you put the injector pump on. Now, if I'm going to show you, I can't, I'm going to put the bolts on, but I'm not going to snug them down tight, because here's my top dead center mark, and I had the on the inside there, I had the what do you call it, the mark, the arrow facing the block 15 degrees off, and now you can see that that line is right where it wants to be. Now there's fine adjustment that I can make here. I can either advance it or retard it if I need to, but we're just going to put it on top dead center. And I'm just going to snug those because I can't do top dead center until I have it actually in the tractor. There's a window here. There's a window here, and I don't know if I can show you without tearing this thing all apart. There. Right there. You see that mark? That top dead center mark will go right there. Okay? And then I can time the injector pump the rest of the way, and it'll be good. So that's going to happen a little bit later today, hopefully, because I have to move my welder and stuff, and that'll work. I think Teresa just showed up. Yep, she did. So anyway, that's it for that. I have the nuts over there. I'm going to put them on. There should be washers that go with it. I'll put them on and set that on there, and hopefully everything else goes together. I'm going to be putting injectors in yet, you know, in the next few minutes, right? Well, next few minutes, pretty damn soon. When I'm done with that, then we're going to go ahead and move all this stuff out of the way and get the skid steer that is running, and we're going to pick this engine up and slide it together to that tractor. Right, Teresa?
Left.
Left? Where are you going? You going to Flemington?
Huh?
You going to Flemington?
Why?
Well, you want to drop that check off in the bank?
Okay.
Okay, cool. I got to go get a load of hay unloaded and take a wagon down.
You're not recording me, right?
No, never. I wouldn't record you ever. You're so pretty. You're so pretty. People are wondering if it's too cold for you outside to help.
Yes, it is cold.
And it's too cold to help out?
Yes.
It is. That's what she said. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so that's that injector pump. I actually had it timed correctly.
Did ya?
Yeah, I did.
Cool.
So I'm going to go ahead and put this screw back on here. There's a screw in the plate. And I'm shocked that everything went the way it was. It went together. Awesome. Well, I'm not shocked. I've done this before, you know. Maybe other people are shocked, but I'm not too shocked.